So here in the second round of the 1505 turn, not a lot's happened. The Portuguese sailed over. They lost both their explorer and their conquistador, but they've discovered Goa. Have a dude there, and you know, they're in process to get a colony in place at the end of this period. Pinzon has been sailing over known waters that Columbus discovered before. Now he's going to enter the unknown. He did detect the Cape at Patagonia. It's not terribly helpful now that he's made the crossing there. Like much more valuable here is the Cape at Cape of Good Hope. I can't remember which one's which. Yeah, because that's going to be used a lot more frequently. This one isn't terribly valuable. It's just too treacherous a passage to make regularly. You're much more going to be traveling under Africa, no matter who you are. But to circumnavigate, you have to do both. So, anyway, England and France pretty much holding steady. The Turks finally took Syria. They took Damascus. Got a siege in Samaria, and now we got a problem. The Mamluks have to launch an attack. They were kind of in this defensive position down here, but now that they lost Damascus, they must make a battle with their army. And if they fail to do that, they just collapse at the end of the turn and become entirely Turkish. So they do have to put at least some attempt at fighting in place. So if the Mamluks had not attacked and the turn ended on round 2, which is possible, they would have just lost. They would have disappeared. Instead, however, they launched an attack onto Jerusalem. They didn't win, but they caused significant casualties to the Turks, drove them off. And now, for this turn, for a victory, Turkey once again has to take Cairo. It's going to be a harder job than pushing, just sitting there and saying, hey, we won. All right, on to that next round. And it ended up only a short turn at 3 rounds. The pirates didn't even come out yet. The privateers, I don't usually like to commit them this early because it gives too many opportunities for the attackers, for the navies to deal with them. Turks kind of got defeated again down here in Sinai. Tried to use a naval support action to get themselves down to Egypt and just try to end this quickly. It's not going to happen. They're going to return to sieging Jerusalem. Over here we're going to see the revolt have a spread, which will shift it into Naples. That's going to start causing real problems for the Spanish down in Italy, where their territory can start becoming very, very difficult. Actually, they'll probably spread it into Messina. I don't know quite who controls it. It's supposed to kind of roll or something. It doesn't really work very well. So I've kind of left it uncontrolled, with France and Venice kind of being the most involved in making decisions for it. Basically, it's supposed to bone the Spaniards. Whatever the decision-making mechanism for who gets to decide, it's supposed to pick the person who's most opposed to them. It's too complicated to really cope with. The reality is you want this revolt to spread. If it's in one person's hands, though, which it is supposed to be, they can cut deals to kind of prevent it from being as damaging to the Spaniards as it would otherwise. Got the over here on Luzon, we have Ponce de Leon, or Ponce de Luzon in this case, has set up to set a colony up. Now Pinzon's going to have to stay out here, and because he wants to continue his sailing through and try to make that circumnavigation. And elsewhere, not much else has happened really this turn. I guess that's about it. Okay, so did the stability investment, and everybody bumped themselves up to +3, except for England, who's going to get an automatic because of their economic improvements. Turkey, however, failed. They failed completely to grow. And now they're in the peace phase I calculated things out, and they had a maximal piece bonus that they can carry over between turns, -4 or whatever. But they got knocked out of one siege. They gained an extra territory, so wait, they might be at -7. Puts them to -6. This is in their favor, the minus here. But then the Mamluks have 2 for being heretics and 4 for being Mamluks. So now it's at 0. And now, let's say I wanted a piece of, I don't know, level 2. That means I'd have to roll a 9. Otherwise, I have to kind of start all over is the problem. But I think I'd rather do that. So now, let's take a look at the peace segment. I think a level 1 is good enough for me. It's not what I want. It really isn't. I wanted to end this, but things are not terribly helpful to me. Piece of level 1 will give me a province. Piece of level 2 would give me 2 provinces. I'd like 2 provinces, so I'm going to go for that. I need a 9 or better to get that piece. I do not get it. So I'm stuck at war, and this is the 3rd turn of the war. So I go down to maximum amount, and Turkey's economy is not handling this well, and this is where the miners get powerful. Even the Mamluks, with special rules to make them pretty much ineffectual and easy to collapse, if they can kind of last things out, they can make it so hard on their opponent. And that's just painful. It really is. Alright, so the 4 points are going to carry over for next turn, in case it doesn't end there. And Turkey's in a lot of trouble. They're in a lot of trouble. Their economy's going to start tanking, and it's going to take them a lot of effort to recover this. They're not going to be able to take the Magyars, the Hungarians, out. And other than that, I got to calculate victory points, and that's about it. And that kicks us off into the 15-10 turn. Point-wise, not a lot of movement. You'll notice Turkish stability went up. They actually had an economic improvement going on, so they got the bonus there. That's going to get cut down, but that's okay. That helps a lot. That drops them down to just -25%. It also starts affecting their monarch's survival chances, though. Their monarch's more likely to die the more poorly their economy's doing, or their country's doing. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. We got new leaders, most notably, we got Cortez over here, who kind of wants a big army to lead against the Aztecs. He'd love to be able to launch that, but I don't think I'm going to have that transport capacity to move across. I might not. It's kind of dangerous to do it right away because I've built this colony here. Now, that was an iffy choice. I feel like it helps keep my army alive once I get it there. And you do need an army because you need artillery. If you don't have artillery when you're facing these Aztecs or whatever, they have huge numbers. Let's take a look at what they're going to have for troops. They have, and this is kind of unreasonable in my view, they have 300 strength points. Okay, you can get the majority of them on your side, but they're going to count as medieval quality. They're not going to be very good. And your real hope here is to break that enemy army by shooting it with artillery. Now, yes, you can do the historical Cortez. You can roll, there's a conquistador table, and you're going to do this and try to pull as many of the natives over as you can. But that's a risky maneuver. If you do that, you may well lose the battle. You have probably the edge there. When it comes down to sieging Tenochtitlan, that becomes fairly difficult without the artillery. So again, I like to take safer measures, even if they're a little ahistorical. I just feel like they make more sense, but maybe I have to do this on a shoestring because Spain's situation is kind of risky. One thing that can happen under the expansion is this can kind of revolt. If that revolt spreads enough, Sicily can become its own little kingdom again, which would be something Spain would really hate to see happen. They've got a number of these kind of issues. They have one down in Granada too, where, you know, the Moriscos can basically revolt against the Spanish crown and set up an Islamic state again. All right. Well, we're moving at a pretty good pace, I'd say. Maybe not so much on the videos. Still, I'd like to cut them down. But I wasn't expecting... This was a very, very short turn. The last turn kicked out around, what, 8 rounds or something? This one went 3. And that's one of the things, you don't know how long it's going to last. So you don't know how much you're going to be able to get done in a turn. I would have thought, with any good reasonable chances, that Pinzon had a fair chance of making it all the way back. But, you know, he didn't make it. All right. Up this goes, I guess.